For someone who's been the subject of memes, trolls, and just a lot of funny stuff online, does Jay Shah actually deserve all of that trolling, or has he actually come out and done good stuff for Indian cricket? Now, first and foremost, of course, Jay Shah was announced the ICC chairman a few days ago, and there was nobody who voted against him, which means that everyone was in agreement to the fact that Jay Shah could now become the ICC chairman. And that in itself speaks volumes of what Jay Shah has done and the kind of trust he has around in the circuit. Most importantly, it also talks about BCCI's power and where Indian cricket is at the moment. But before all of that, I just want to go back into time, talk about Jay Shah from the early days, talk about all the things he's done, and just question whether or not he's actually been a good administrator for Indian cricket. Now, we can roughly look at Jay Shah's career in three parts. The first part, where he was predominantly with the Gujarat Cricket Association. The next part, where he got into the BCCI and started working his way up that ladder. And the third part is where he eventually became the General Secretary of the BCCI. He also came in charge of the Asian Cricket Council, and from there to becoming the ICC chairman. We talk about the first part of Jay Shah's career, where back in 2009 he became a part of the Gujarat Cricket Association. He was only 20 during this period, and one could argue that the only reason he even made it to that Gujarat Cricket Association was because of the fact that his father, Amit Shah, was a prominent politician. Now, in 2009 to 2011, Jay Shah worked as an executive for the Gujarat Cricket Association, and he was just finding his way around things, learning more about cricket, learning more about the administration side of things. In 2011, he was also included in BCCI's marketing committee. Once again, somebody can argue that the only reason he made this was because of the fact that nepotism was at play, but it gets better and better, so stick with me on this. Cut to 2013, when within a span of 4 years, Jay Shah made the General Secretary of the Gujarat Cricket Association. At this point, he was already starting to represent GCA at the BCCI annual meetings, and more importantly, he undertook a very big project during this period, and that was the renovation of the Motera Stadium. Now, the reason why the Motera Stadium's renovation was extremely important is because Narendra Modi had publicly announced how he wanted to create a world-class sporting facility, and Jay Shah and Amit Shah were given the responsibility to do just that. Jay Shah in 2013 took over this renovation, where he took the capacity of that stadium from about 35 to 40,000 to what we know today in excess of 1 lakh. Today we know that that stadium is an absolute marvel when it comes to the architecture and design. Just the sheer size of that stadium and the kind of sporting events it has held in the recent couple of years goes on to show the importance of the stadium to cricket and also sport in general for India. Now, this of course is mostly on his administration side of things when it comes to the Gujarat Cricket Association, but not many people know that Jay Shah also focused a lot on grassroots level cricket in Gujarat. In fact, Jay Shah was also recognized for setting up a structured age group coaching system, which meant that players coming through the ranks of under 12s, under 14s, under 16s were taken care of properly, were given the right attention, the right kind of coaching, the right kind of infrastructure. And this also eventually started to bear fruit towards the mid 2010s, where the Gujarat team won not only the Ranji Trophy but also the Vijay Hazare Trophy and the Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament twice. Now, coming to the next part of Jay Shah's career was when he started getting into the BCCI. Of course, there is an overlap. He was into the BCCI way back in 2011. He was working with their marketing committee. But as he grew into this role, he also got into the financial committee and eventually made GenSec. We'll come to the GenSec role in a bit, but before that, this period between 2013 and 2019 was one that was a little tricky for BCCI themselves. If you would have heard of the famous Lodha committee, that is what happened around this period of 2015-16. There were a lot of questions raised on the administration side of BCCI and how they were making use of the kind of revenue they were getting, power structures in place, and just how cricket was being shaped by these officials. And this was also around the time when match fixing was prevalent in the IPL when it came to Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals, and there was a lot of turmoil there. Now, during these middle years, 2015 was seen as a bit of an important year because reportedly Jay Shah was responsible for the outsing of former BCCI president N. Srinivasan. He backed Anurag Thakur instead, and eventually it was Anurag Thakur who got that general secretary post in and around 2015-16. And not much is out there in the media for what followed in the next couple of years. All we know is that a lot of changes happened internally for the BCCI when it came to a lot of things around just their cricket administration, the kind of funds coming in, the use of these funds. And I think during this period, Jay Shah also became a part of that financial committee and ensured that the money was being used in the right manner. Also, the fact that this eventually meant that Jay Shah was able to transition very smoothly into the general secretary role of the BCCI himself. And this is where we come to the third part of Jay Shah's career, is when he took over the BCCI at arguably the most powerful position, not just in Indian cricket but also in world cricket. Now, Jay Shah took over the general secretary role of the BCCI in 2019, and since then, so many things have happened. More importantly, so many challenges have come in the face of Indian cricket. Now, the first and biggest challenge that Jay Shah had to face, and something that he's also spoken about being the toughest thing in his administrative career, was conducting the IPL in 2020. Now, of course, 2020 was the year of the lockdown. We had COVID-19, and so it was always going to be tough to conduct a tournament like the IPL that not only involved a lot of international players but also a lot of international coaching staff and just a large amount of infrastructure and people involved, especially in that period when the entire world was shut and major tournaments and major events all around the world were not taking place. Being able to conduct the IPL in itself is considered a great achievement, in my opinion. Of course, we did not have the IPL back in the usual period of March to May, but we eventually had the IPL in September. And just to give you some context on the gravity of that event, had BCCI and the IPL governing committee not conducted the IPL for that year, they would have faced a revenue loss of about 500 to 530 million US dollars. And this is important not only from a money aspect for BCCI and also for other smaller cricketing boards like the Afghanistan board, who also earn revenue when they send their players to these kind of tournaments. Most importantly, this was also a boon for the players. A lot of these guys make their big bucks only through the IPL. Also, domestic cricket had not happened in that particular year, so the IPL coming into the picture was extremely huge and significant, not only for the administration side of things or the money side of things, but also for the cricketers themselves. Not only that, Jay Shah also took charge of how he wanted the domestic players to look at the red ball format, and he actually did a great job of making sure that these players prioritize something like a Ranji Trophy cricket and also Test cricket. He announced a lot of changes in the fee structures and the kind of salary that players would get who played Ranji Trophy cricket and also players who went on to represent India for Test match cricket. And of course, the most recent example of Jay Shah showing that red ball cricket is something that he really cares about was abruptly dropping Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan from the BCCI central contract. Of course, that's something that's debatable, but it goes on to show that he's always had that in mind, that red ball cricket is probably the pinnacle of cricket as is, and that's something that he wants to ensure stays alive not only in this country but now eventually also in the world of cricket. Now, another very important thing that Jay Shah did during this period was announce equal pay for women's cricketers in India. Of course, the kind of contracts that are in place still remain different, but just the fact that the women's cricketers will now make the same amount of match fees as the men's cricketers was a step, I think, in the right direction. And the last really good thing that Jay Shah did for Indian cricket during this period was come up with the Women's Premier League, a concept that had been talked about for a very long time but just kept getting pushed ahead and ahead and ahead until finally Jay Shah decided that it's time to have this tournament as well. And it was a great success. We've had multiple seasons so far and it just keeps getting better and better. You have crowds filling in, stadiums are all packed. The women's cricketers, most importantly, are getting noticed for the T20 format with the kind of skill set they bring, and more women are getting opportunities. And if this wasn't enough, Jay Shah also became the president of the Asian Cricket Council during this period and has been so up until now. And something as an Indian that's very heartening to see is that everyone, wherever you go around in the Asian Cricket Council, has always talked about how Jay Shah has been financially extremely sound. He's been able to commercialize the games involving cricket in Asia extremely well. He's got great broadcasting deals, and most importantly, I think, is that he's been able to channel all of this money to the grassroots levels and discover new talent. Something that was also very heartening to read was the fact that all the money coming in from these Asian cricket tournaments like the Asia Cup are being channeled back into development programs that help coaches, umpires, infrastructure, and just all of this around cricket to help discover not only new talent but also groom the existing talent in also countries like Cambodia, China, and Bhutan. And of course, apart from all of these achievements, he also got re-elected in 2022 to become the General Secretary of the BCCI once again. And during this period, he also closed a record-breaking media rights deal for the IPL worth 48,390 crore. Now, of course, this is all of what Jay Shah has done in his career so far. I also want to talk about a couple of points where we think Jay Shah did not do as well as someone would have expected him to, given his track record. The first and foremost thing is obviously how the 2023 ODI World Cup at home was conducted. And this is something that we've also talked about in our previous videos. So if you haven't checked it out, if you haven't checked out our Instagram, go and check it out. We've done a lot of reels on all all of this. But from a personal standpoint and from a personal experience viewpoint, there was a lot of mismanagement when it came to ticket selling and just the viewing experience for an average Indian cricket fan. Not only that, even if you look at it from a scheduling point of view, a lot of the international cricket fans could not make it to support their teams, and it became almost a predominantly Indian crowd because of the fact that the schedules came out so late that one could not plan if they were not already present in India. And another thing that I did not like about Jay Shah's style of administration was how he came out to almost make decisions for selectors in some way. We saw how Jay Shah announced that Rohit Sharma is going to be the captain for the 2024 T20 World Cup. Now, irrespective of the kind of rapport he had with players and everyone around the system, I don't think this is something that should have come from Jay Shah. So that's the only criticism I have of him, that these things could have been taken care of from a procedural sense. But these are the only two things that glaringly stand out as the bad points of his administration. And of course, this is all based on whatever is available to read on the internet. So if there's anything that's bad or good and we've missed out on, definitely let us know down in the comments below if there's something that we missed to cover. Now, of course, this is all we know about Jay Shah. He's now going to become the ICC chairman, and there are some challenges that he's going to run into. The first and foremost thing, of course, is the Champions Trophy in Pakistan. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to become that chairman who takes India to play in Pakistan. Highly unlikely, but let's see if that happens. He's also come out and spoken about his love for red ball cricket and how he wants to ensure that red ball cricket stays at the pinnacle of the sport. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to get in more for the associate nations in terms of red ball cricket and just their overall development. Lastly, of course, there's going to be the LA Olympics in 2028 that's going to have cricket. So it's going to be very important to see what Jay Shah is going to be able to do in his new role when it comes to being able to promote the game, not just within the set countries that already play cricket, but also the new countries, the associate nations, and more nations maybe from Europe and other parts of the world. It's going to be interesting to see if Jay Shah can take cricket forward in the right direction. I personally am fairly confident of what he can do, but only time will tell. This has been our video. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more case studies like this or want to see more technical analysis, let us know in the comments. Definitely like, share, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, we do videos every Tuesday and Fridays. All of our links are in the description below. Thanks for watching.